Hold the bag or lose everything. Why midlife divorce is your billion-dollar launchpad. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start by introducing you to someone who is changing the trajectory of thousands of lives. Someone who refuses to let society write the final chapter for Black women who dare to start over in their 50s. Casey Moore is a visionary, a disruptor, and a truth teller who is redefining what it means to hold on to your power when life demands you surrender everything you thought made you whole. Casey Moore is building a movement that teaches high achieving Black women that midlife reinvention isn't about clawing your way back from zero. It's about gripping the bag you've been carrying for decades, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and finally using it to build the empire you were always meant to lead. The insights Casey shared with me aren't just revolutionary, they're life altering. And today, I'm here to share them with you because this conversation will challenge everything you've been told about loss, age, and what's possible when you refuse to let go. Let me ask you something. What happens when the life you spent 26 years building, the marriage, the routines, the shared bank accounts, the dreams you whispered in the dark, suddenly ends? Society has a script ready for you. It says that divorce at 55 is a tragedy, a depletion, a quiet fade into irrelevance. You're supposed to grieve in silence, maybe take up knitting, shrink a little, accept that your best years are behind you. But here's the truth that Casey Moore taught me, and it's a truth that will shake you to your core. That script, it's a lie, a dangerous, limiting, soul crushing lie. What if the end of a long marriage isn't the closing of a door? What if it's the opening of a vault you've been filling for 26 years and now finally you get the combination? What if every compromise, every sacrifice, every moment you bent so someone else could stand tall was actually you packing three bags spiritual, emotional, physical, and now you get to carry them wherever you want to go? Casey Moore showed me that when you walk away from a 26-year marriage as a 55-year-old Black woman, you're not walking away empty handed. You're walking away loaded. And the only question that matters is this: are you going to hold on to those bags tightly enough to build something extraordinary? Or are you going to set them down because someone told you that you're too old, too tired, too late? Let's talk about the first bag, the spiritual one. This is the bag most people can't see, but it's the heaviest. It's filled with every prayer you whispered when you thought no one was listening. Every moment you chose faith when fear was screaming louder. Every time your intuition told you to move and you trusted it even when logic said stay still. Divorce, especially after decades of intertwining your life with someone else's, strips away all the noise. It peels back the layers of performance and compromise and reveals something raw and powerful: who you are when no one else is watching. And that revelation becomes your compass. Casey Moore emphasized that this spiritual bag isn't just about religion, though for so many Black women, faith is the foundation we build everything on. It's about trusting yourself again. After 26 years of making space for someone else's dreams, after decades of asking, what do we want instead of what do I want? You finally get to ask the question that changes everything. What do I believe? What does my soul need? What am I being called to do now that I'm free? And when you answer those questions with brutal honesty, you unlock a kind of faith driven intuition that transforms how you move through the world. You stop chasing partnerships that drain you. You stop saying yes to opportunities that don't align with your values. You start making decisions from a place of spiritual clarity that makes you unstoppable. Let me tell you about a woman who embodies this. In her 50s, after navigating long term partnership challenges and facing professional skepticism as a Black woman over 50, she could have disappeared. She could have played small, but she didn't. She held her spiritual bag so tightly that it became her anchor. Daily meditation became non negotiable. She set boundaries that protected her peace even when it cost her relationships. She built a practice of listening to her inner voice, and from that grounded, spiritually centered place, she launched the OWN network. Not because she needed to prove anything to anyone, but because she trusted her vision. That woman is Oprah Winfrey. And her story proves that holding the spiritual bag isn't passive, it's the most active, rebellious, world changing thing you can do. It's saying, I've survived this long because something bigger than me has been guiding me, and I'm not letting go now. Now, let's talk about the second bag, the emotional one. This one is tricky because society loves to tell Black women to be strong, to keep it together, to never let them see you sweat, never let them see you cry, never let them see you doubt. But Casey Moore flipped that script entirely. Holding your emotional bag fiercely doesn't mean pretending you're fine. It means owning your story, the messy parts, the painful parts, the parts where you cried in your car before walking into a meeting because you didn't want anyone to see you break. It means building unbreakable confidence, not by hiding your wounds, but by tending to them with honesty and grace. There's a woman who is a master class in this. After her marriage of over 20 years dissolved, she faced financial ruin, emotional devastation, the kind of trauma that makes you want to disappear. But instead of hiding, she held her emotional bag with both hands and refused to let go. She got vulnerable publicly in her books, on her television show, in front of millions of people. She said, I cried yesterday and I'll probably cry tomorrow, but I'm still here and I'm not ashamed. That honesty, that refusal to perform strength built an $8 million empire. Her name is Iyanla Van Zant, and her story teaches us that when you stop seeking external validation, when you stop needing everyone to think you're okay, you channel that energy into networking, leadership, and creativity rooted in truth. You show up as yourself, not as the version you think people want to see. And that authenticity, it's magnetic, it's powerful, it builds empires. Casey Moore reminded me that guarding your emotional bag means saying no, to relationships, professional or personal, that require you to shrink. It means walking into rooms and refusing to apologize for taking up space. It means understanding that your confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from knowing you've survived imperfection and you're still standing, still breathing, still building. Then there's the third bag, the physical one. This is the bag people underestimate the most. At 55, society whispers lies. It says your best years are behind you, that you should slow down, play it safe, take the back seat. But Casey Moore said something that stopped me in my tracks, and I want you to hear it clearly. Midlife is prime time for bold moves. Your body isn't a liability, it's an asset. And investing in your health, your energy, your physical vitality is how you scale ventures that prove age is your superpower, not a setback. Let me tell you about a woman who proves this every single day. In her 50s, while navigating personal transitions and smashing through racial barriers in the finance industry, she didn't coast. She didn't slow down. She trained for marathons. Not because she loved running, but because she needed the endurance to lead at the highest levels. She understood that her body was the foundation of her empire. And it worked. She grew aerial investments to over $13 billion in assets under management. She became the board chair of Starbucks. She shattered glass ceilings because she had the stamina to keep swinging the hammer. Her name is Melody Hobson, and her story teaches us that securing your physical bag unapologetically means investing in yourself now, not later, not when it's convenient, but now. It means prioritizing sleep, movement, nutrition, not as vanity, but as strategy. Because when you feel strong in your body, you make bolder decisions. You take bigger risks. You show up with an energy that commands respect. And at 55, after spending 26 years putting everyone else first, that investment in yourself isn't selfish, it's revolutionary. Here's what Casey Moore wants you to understand, and this is the heart of everything. These three bags, spiritual, emotional, physical, they're not separate. They're interconnected. They're woven together. When you hold your spiritual bag tight, you make decisions rooted in faith, not fear. When you guard your emotional bag fiercely, you build confidence that doesn't need applause or approval. When you secure your physical bag unapologetically, you have the energy and stamina to execute the visions your spirit reveals and your emotions validate. Together, they create a foundation for entrepreneurial freedom that doesn't just survive midlife transitions, it thrives because of them. But let's be honest, because honesty is what we do here. Holding on to these bags isn't easy. 26 years of marriage means 26 years of shared routines, shared finances, shared identities, shared dreams. When that ends, it's tempting to let go of everything, to think, I'm too old, I'm too tired, I've given too much, I don't have what it takes anymore. And that's the moment, Casey Moore said, that you grip tighter. Because those bags, they've got your fingerprints all over them. They've got your laugh lines, your tear stains, your sweat. They're proof that you've been carrying weight for decades. And now, finally, you get to decide what you're carrying it toward. Think about the women in your life who reinvented themselves after loss, the ones who started businesses in their 50s, who went back to school, who traveled solo for the first time, who looked life in the face and said, I spent half my life building someone else's dream. Now it's my turn. They didn't do it because they had more money, more time, or more support. They did it because they held on to their bags. They trusted their spiritual intuition. They reclaimed their emotional narrative. They invested in their physical vitality and they refused to let society's timeline dictate their potential. Casey Moore is building a movement around this idea that midlife divorce for Black women isn't a tragedy, it's a launch pad. That 55 isn't the end, it's the beginning of your soft girl era where you finally get to be soft, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to stop performing strength. Where you get to rest, not because you're giving up, but because you've earned it. Where you get to say no without guilt, set boundaries without apology, and build an empire on your own terms. So here's what I need you to do. Right now, today, this week, I need you to audit your bags. I need you to ask yourself, am I protecting my spiritual peace? Am I reclaiming my emotional narrative? Am I investing in my physical vitality? And if the answer is no, I need you to start. Not tomorrow, not next month, now. Because the women who thrive after loss, after divorce, after heartbreak aren't the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who held on tight when everyone told them to let go. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are not depleted. You are loaded. You've been packing these bags for decades, and now it's time to carry them toward the life you were always meant to live. Hold the bag or lose everything. The choice is yours.